Is this visible, Anusha? Okay. You could you once repeat iPSC? Yes, sure. So this is basically iPSC. iPSC stands for induced pluripotent stem cells, right? So what actually occurs, okay, first let me tell you about the Waddington's principle or Waddington's theory. So what happens if a cell is having pluripotency? If a cell is pluripotent in nature, that means it can differentiate into a more specialized cell type, right? So during the normal development process, what happens, a particular pluripotent cell will normally differentiate and it will become a more specialized one, more specialized cell. So this is the age. Here you will get it started from a more less specific cells and it ends towards or becoming a more specific cell type, right? Now what happens if I am having this more specialized cell and now I can manipulate it to become a pluripotent one? Means the cell, I have somatic cells, which is a special kind of cell. That means it doesn't have any ability by which it can differentiate into new cell type or by which it can be differentiated into different cell types. This is the end product. So when I am having the particular somatic cell, I am introducing different induction factors. I am introducing different factors which actually helping the somatic cells, that is the somatic cells, it has less amount of potency. So I am introducing such factors that that particular cell is becoming the pluripotent one. I am reprogramming the cell to become a pluripotent one. So this is basically the induction. So and after this induction of this pluripotency, what I will get an induced pluripotent stem cell from a somatic cell. So basically induced at least this is clear to you that in iPSC is induced pluripotent stem cell. From the name it is clear that this is induced or reprogrammed. So induced pluripotent stem cell is not a naturally occurring cell inside our body, rather it is generated in culture from somatic cells. Now how you can make these pluripotent stem cells, or how you can induce the pluripotency in just a somatic cell? By introducing some ectopic co-expression of defined pluripotency factor. There are some pluripotency associated factors which are needed to be induced inside these somatic cells in order to make these somatic cells pluripotent in nature, okay? And these specialized cell types is known as pluripotent stem cell. Now why we are using this pluripotent stem cell? See, so why we are using this pluripotent cell, or why this is important to us? Because I have told that this the generation of this pluripotent stem cell, or the formation of this pluripotent stem cell, induced pluripotent stem cells from differentiated mature cell. So just listen to it carefully. When we are taking the somatic cells, that is the perfectly or finally differentiated cell, because when you are taking a pluripotent stem cell means it is in its undifferentiated state. It can differentiate into specific cells. So this is one of the feature of the stem cells, and we are taking somatic cells which is differentiated one already and the mature one. So why using this? Because it is the most promising technologies in the field of regenerative medicines. The ability to generate patient specific induced pluripotent stem cells offers an invaluable reservoir of pluripotent cells, and this could be genetically engineered. You can change it and differentiate it into target cells to treat various kinds of genetic disorders, degenerative diseases once transplanted. Okay, so this is the reason why we are actually introducing this pluripotency in normal somatic cells. Now the question comes, how this is done? So to make this pluripotent stem cells, we are taking these normal somatic cells and culturing those cells on particular specific media. Now once we are getting the source cells, we are introducing some pluripotency associated factors. Now what are those pluripotency associated factors? There are 4 genes which are responsible. Now why we are introducing this pluripotency associated factors? Because those genes or those gene products are responsible to switch on the pluripotency associated genes inside the cell. When a cell in its differentiated state, say when a cell in its undifferentiated state, that is when it is a stem cell, there are different genes that is being expressed inside a stem cell, right? Now when the particular cell, the undifferentiated one, during the course of development becoming a differentiated one, so it is becoming mature. So in the differentiated state, the genes will be different inside the particular cell. So the genes expressing in the undifferentiated state of the cell and differentiated state of the cell will be different. Those genes which were expressed in the undifferentiated or stem cells, those genes will be shut down in the mature differentiated cells. Rather, a new sets of gene will start to express in order to maintain the fully differentiated mature cell in that particular state. Okay, so we are introducing 4 different pluripotency associated factors, and that will actually switch off those genes which were responsible for maintaining the differentiated or mature cell in that state, and in turn will switch on those genes which were necessary to make a cell a pluripotent one, right? So this is the reason why we are introducing particular pluripotency associated factors to these somatic cells, and this is the induction. We are inducing the pluripotency to these somatic cells. So what are those 4 factors? Mainly we are introducing OCT4, SOX2, KLF4 and CMYC. These are 4 genes that those we are actually introducing to induce the pluripotency. Now why only these 4 genes? Because they have different roles. I have already mentioned it in our last class. That these 4 genes will make a complex network which will, 1 minute. So these 4 factors actually eventually form a particular complex network, okay, and this network actually initiate those pluripotency factors in the somatic cells eventually which will introduce the pluripotency. So is it clear now, the iPSC or induced pluripotent stem cell? Now the question may come from your side that how these 4 factors will introduce pluripotency in a normal somatic cell. So this is the reason, the 4 things we are introducing, this somatic cell reprogramming, or how it is done. The somatic cell reprogramming is initiated by the changes in the transcriptome and the chromatin level. It will change the transcriptome as well as the chromatin structure of the differentiated states, that is the mature state, into that of a pluripotent like state. And the ability of reprogramming transcription factors to bind to pluripotency associated recognition sequence, because to become a pluripotent one, it needs to switch on those pluripotency associated different genes, so that these 4 factors need to recognize or need to activate those pluripotency associated recognition sequences also in somatic cells, and is mostly modulated by the changes in chromatin structures, which is influenced by DNA methylation, histone modification. I guess you know these are the epigenetic regulation of the cells, and these epigenetic regulations actually help the cells to switch on some gene, to switch off some gene. They help to regulate the expression of different genes inside our cells, when a particular gene will be expressed, when not. So it is regulated by these epigenetic changes, epigenetic controls. There are enzymes which actually responsible for these epigenetic changes, and due to this epigenetic control inside our cell, the changes occurs. So the reprogramming transcription factors spontaneously bind together to form an interconnected autoregulatory circuit, triggering their own core promoter genes and cooperating with other pluripotency associated genes. Now the interconnected autoregulatory loop suggests that there are 4 factors, OCT4 and SOX2, 2 of them. These 2 factors play a key role in the maintenance of pluripotency. That's why we are inducing or introducing these 2 factors. Okay. In contrast, another factor, NANA, plays a paramount role in mammalian development, growth and differentiation of blastocyst in the pre-implementation embryo. So it was reported that 2 transcriptional waves are elicited when pluripotency is induced, because it's, in words it is very easy to tell, it is very light to hear, to listen, that okay, I am introducing a pluripotency, I am inducing pluripotency inside a cell, and my mature differentiated, fully differentiated cell is becoming an undifferentiated pluripotent cell, right? This is very easy to hear, but there are a large amount of changes, genetic changes, which is taking place inside the cell, and we are just getting the results because of this huge genetic change which is occurring inside the somatic cells. Complete switch off of one set of gene and switch on of a different set of gene. This needs a huge change, huge regulation, both transcriptional regulation and epigenetic regulation inside the cell, and this is done by those 4 factors, which is known as Yamanaka's cocktail, the factors of Yamanaka's cocktail. Why Yamanaka's cocktail? Because in 2006 Yamanaka first introduced these induced pluripotent stem cells to us, and hence he used those factors to induce pluripotency, so it is known as Yamanaka's cocktail. So it was told that there are 2 different waves that is actually responsible to make a somatic cell into a pluripotent one. So what are they? In the first transcriptional wave, the c-MYC binds to a large region of somatic genome. Okay, so it will bind to the large regions of somatic genome with methylated H3K4Me2 and H3K4Me3. Now, what is H3K4Me2 and H3K4Me3? This is basically an epigenetic change. H3K4Me2 stands for the histone 3, the fourth lysine group of histone 3 having 2 methylation. Okay, and H3K4Me3 stands for 3 methylation in the lysine 4 in the histone 3. So, these two changes which marks the opening of the chromatin. Now, these allows, so first is initiated by so basically the c-MYC actually initiates the transcriptional regulation. It actually opens up the chromatin, and it will allow the OCT4, the second factor, and SOX2, the third factor, to have access to the necessary genes for reprogramming and to the enhancers and promoters of the genes, which those genes that will determine the somatic identity of the cells. This is followed by the silencing of somatic related gene expression, which includes mesenchymal genes such as Thy1, SNAI1, SNAI2, ZEB1, ZEB2. These are all surface markers. So, these surface markers or these genes were expressed. No, I am not changing slides. This is the slide I am showing. Okay. So, if you can see, there are SNAI1, ZEB1, those are different factors which were only the markers of the somatic cells, and these markers needs to be shut down. So, OCT4 and SOX2 basically shut down the expression of those particular genes inside the somatic cells, and c-MYC is another one that actually also regulates the cell cycle regulation. And the fourth factor is KLF4. So, that plays another contradicting role in both phases. In the first phase, what it's done? By restraining differentiated genes in the first phase, as it binds and activates epithelial genes including E-cadherin, and second by accelerating the essential endogenous OCT4 and SOX2 expression in the second phase. So, basically in the first phase it is restraining the differentiated genes, and in the second phase or second wave it is basically tells the cell to more produce the OCT4 and SOX2 to increase the expression of the essential endogenous OCT4 and SOX2. That actually establishes the autoregulatory loop that maintains the pluripotent state. And this is widely accepted that KLF4 naturally acts in pluripotent cells by controlling cellular processes such as development, proliferation, differentiation and apoptosis. Okay, and OCT4 and SOX2 along with the KLF4, they actually activate a group of transcription factors. NANOG, KLF2, SL, SAL, L4, ZEB42, etc. and different signaling regulatory pathway that is necessary for the cell to become pluripotent one. So, this is the method by which, by introducing these 4 factors, this is basically why we are introducing only these 4 factors, why they are necessary. So, this is the reason that c-MYC actually opens up the chromatin structure. OCT4 and SOX2 goes and bind to different genes, that will OCT4 and SOX2 will make a autoregulatory loop, and it will shut down some of the genes which is responsible for the differentiated cells, and then again along with the KLF4 will activate different genes which is essential to make a cell pluripotent one, and also KLF4 helps in the acceleration of the expression of the OCT4 and endogenous OCT4 and SOX2. So, this is the reason that initially the pluripotency factors, the pluripotency can be achieved by introducing these 4 factors. Now when you are introducing these 4 transcriptional factors inside a source cell, that is a somatic cell, fully differentiated cell, it will result in a complex regulatory network, complex changes in its transcription level as well as in its epigenetic level. As a result, the potency of the particular cell will be changed and we will get induced pluripotent stem cell from a fully differentiated mature somatic cell. Is it clear, Anusha? Okay, fine. So I told that talked about adult stem cells yesterday. So today we will talk about some more adult stem cells, right? So one of the adult stem cell is mesenchymal stem cell. So what is mesenchymal stem cells or MSCs? So mesenchymal stem cells are bone marrow populating cells. So it is different from we will talk about that, the hematopoietic stem cell. So what happens? These mesenchymal stem cells play a key role in the maintenance of bone marrow homeostasis and regulate the maturation of both hematopoietic and non-hematopoietic cells. Now the cells are characterized, these MSCs are characterized by the expression of numerous surface antigens, but none of them appear to be exclusively expressed on mesenchymal stem cells. Apart from bone marrow, these MSCs are located in other tissues like adipose tissues, peripheral blood, cord blood, liver, fetal tissues, etc. Now MSCs have been shown to be powerful tools in gene therapies and that can be effectively transduced with viral vectors. They are induced by viral vectors containing a therapeutic gene as well as with cDNA for specific proteins, expressions of which is desired in a patient. So mesenchymal stem cells can be used for therapeutic use. Due to such characteristics, the number of clinical trials based on the use of mesenchymal stem cell increases. Now these cells have been successfully employed where in graft versus host disease treatment, heart regeneration after infarct, cartilage and bone repair, skin wounds healing, neuronal regeneration and many others. The treatment of osteogenesis, which appeared to be the only reasonable therapeutic strategy, this mesenchymal stem cell therapy is used. Okay, so if you see these mesenchymal stem cells, what are the properties of mesenchymal stem cells? The plastic adherent properties, so they can be cultured easily. Self-renewal capacity, obviously that's why they are known as the stem cells. Multi-lineage differentiation potential, that is osteocytes, adipocytes and chondrocytes. So these are the different sources from where we can get this mesenchymal stem cells. And characteristic cell surface marker expression, I have already mentioned that they actually express several numbers of marker genes on their surface which are not the exclusive one, but they are expressed on these mesenchymal stem cells. Okay, and these mesenchymal stem cells are isolated from a variety of adult tissues including umbilical cord, bone marrow, adipose tissues, dental pulp. Now, although the minimal criteria for MSC identity refers only to the potential for mesodermal differentiation, these mesenchymal stem cells may be induced in vitro to transdifferentiate into endodermal, which is that is B cells and hepatocytes, and ectodermal lineages like oligodendrocytes and neurons also. So this is different markers which are expressed with these are cell surface markers which are expressed by these human mesenchymal stem cells. See, the left column shows the human mesenchymal stem cells origin. So adipose tissues, bone marrow, dental pulp, peripheral blood and skin. Now there are some markers which are expressed, some those are not expressed. So I have already listed. So sets of cell surface markers which must be expressed or absent from MSCs. This is recognized by the organizations as one of the minimum criteria for this HMSCs, human mesenchymal stem cell identification. Now the expressed markers, I'm just giving some of the name, like CD73 I have written over here in adipose tissues, CD90, CD105 which is very common, and unexpressed markers include CD11B, CD14, CD19, etc. Okay. So now this is the overview of the mesenchymal stem cells. This is the different factors you can see. The advantage of these mesenchymal stem cells, why we can use this, because the first point is it can be readily isolated from bone marrow and adipose tissues. Okay. And the advantages includes MSCs, these mesenchymal stem cells possess multiple advantages, like MSCs can be isolated from several sources and are large scale produced, so we can produce it in a large scale. Okay. Next, it can differentiate into variety of cell types, and it has pleiotropic effect also. Do you know what is pleiotropic effect? Okay, so pleiotropic effect means a particular gene, a single gene will have multiple effects, multiple functions. So this is the pleiotropic effect. So these mesenchymal stem cells show pleiotropic effects. So these are all the reasons why these mesenchymal stem cells are suitable for clinical applications in different pathological conditions, including neurological damages, liver disorders, cardiac arrest, diabetes, etc. Now, in addition to the different source and multilineage differentiation potential, these MSCs or these mesenchymal stem cells also possess the capacity to migrate to injured sites in response to environmental signals and promote tissue regeneration mediated by the release of paracrine factors with pleiotropic effects. Here come the pleiotropic effect. Through interaction with the host niche, these mesenchymal stem cells are able to inhibit the immune system, promote cell survival, or induce angiogenesis among other pleiotropic activities. Of these, the immunosuppressive role of MSCs is particularly interesting for clinical use, since it confers resistance to rejection by the host immune system after the transplantation, which is the major problem during the transplantation, the host rejection. So it actually reduces that particular inhibit the immune system, reduce the immunosuppressive role. So furthermore, these mesenchymal stem cells can be obtained from easily accessible sources. I have already mentioned, like by minimum invasive methods like peripheral bloods, adipose tissues, and that can be rapidly expanded in large scale for clinical use. These allows to produce a patient specific medicinal product, that is autologous medicinal product, within a therapeutic time window. In addition, the possibility of obtaining these mesenchymal stem cells from adult tissue circumvent the ethical issues associated with the use of embryonic source. So all of these advantages of these mesenchymal stem cells make this cells type a powerful tool for clinical application in regenerative medicines. These are all the advantages of using these mesenchymal stem cells in clinical purposes. But although these mesenchymal stem cells have shown tremendous therapeutic potential in various diseases, their application for cancer treatment remains controversial. While some studies indicate that these MSCs may contribute to cancer pathogenesis, emerging data support the beneficial effects of MSCs for oncological treatment. So this is still now on the verge of discussion that whether it could be used or not, but in most of the cases, due to most of the advantages I have shown here, people can use these mesenchymal stem cells for therapeutic uses. And in fact, people use these MSCs for bone defect, genetic disease, cardiac repair, trachea repair, graft versus host disease I have already mentioned, for all these diseases. These are two different adult stem cells: neural stem cells, cancer stem cells. So what are neural stem cells? Neural stem cells or NSCs, these are multipotent cells which are able to self-renew and proliferate without limit to produce progeny cells which terminally differentiate into neurons, astrocytes and oligodendrocytes. The non-stem cell progeny of neural stem cells are referred to as neural progenitor cells. So these all are neural progenitor cells, and these neural stem cells offer the potential to replace lost tissues after nervous system injury also. Thus, stem cells can promote host neural repair in part by secreting growth factors, and their regeneration promoting activities can be modified by gene delivery. So you can use these neural cells for stem cell therapies also. These neural cells I have mentioned, this is a multipotent one, and it can be derived from brain tissues or differentiated from pluripotent stem cells. Now these neural stem cell research is currently focused on methods to repair damages from degenerative diseases such as Parkinson's disease and amyotrophic lateral sclerotia, which is very common, as well as from brain and spinal cord injuries resulting from stroke or trauma. So you can use these neural stem cells. The another one from the adult stem cell is cancer stem cell. So these CSAs are found within tumors or hematological cancers that possess characteristics associated with normal stem cells, specifically the ability to give rise to all cell types found in a particular cancer sample. Now current CSC theory states that if current treatments of cancer do not properly destroy enough CSCs, the tumor will reappear. Obviously we know all this. And obviously this is not wanted for our system, our human being, and it can be treated by chemotherapy. And the last one is the hematopoietic stem cells or HSCs. So hematopoietic stem cells are tissue specific multipotent stem cells which give rise to all blood cells. As you can see from the picture, they are giving rise to all blood cells. They reside in the bone marrow in a low oxygen environment, which is their niche, where they remain quiescent before eventually dividing and differentiating. These HSCs marker refer to a series of proteins which distinguish HSCs from other cell types. So these hematopoietic stem cells, like I have mentioned in case of mesenchymal stem cells, they actually show different surface cell surface markers, though they are not the exclusive one, but hematopoietic stem cells show or express those surface markers which are exclusive for them. So what is the quiescent state? Actually, that hematopoietic stem cells, like all adult cells, mostly in its quiescent state, that is the reversible growth arrest. And the altered metabolism of these quiescent HSCs helps the cell survive for extended periods of time in its low oxygen or hypoxic bone marrow environment. When it is provoked by cell death or cell damage, hematopoietic stem cells exit this reversible growth arrest state and begin actively dividing again and again, and the transition from dormancy to propagation and back is regulated by different transcription factors like MEK, ERK pathway, PI3K, AKT, mTOR pathway. And this regulation of these transitions can lead to stem cell exhaustion or the gradual loss of active hematopoietic stem cells in the blood system. So this is the quiescent state. Now the question comes that what is these hematopoietic stem cells? You already know these are the non-adherent cell type. And the process by which these the dormant hematopoietic stem cells give rise to blood cells is mature blood cells is known as hematopoiesis, and it must balance enormous production needs to produce more than 500 billion blood cells every day. Okay. So we can say that these hematopoietic stem cells are the only cells within the hematopoietic system that possess the potential for both multipotency and self-renewal. No other cells are able to do this hematopoietic system. In terms of hematopoietic stem cells, multipotency is the ability to differentiate into all functional blood cell type, okay, which while self-renewal is the ability to give rise to identical daughter hematopoietic stem cells. Now, in terms of function, these cells are responsible for the continual renewal of the erythrocytes, leukocytes and platelets inside the body. I have mentioned to the process of hematopoiesis. Now, they also play an important role in the formation of vital organs such as the liver, spleen during fetal development. The early biological knowledge obtained from the studies of HSCs established the base of knowledge for understanding other stem cell system. In addition, these cells have a vital role in furthering stem cell research for clinical applications also. Regenerative medicines is a field of medicine that has applied these HSCs treatment for the blood-borne disease such as leukemia and lymphoma, and of cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy. Now, there are several markers which are present in these HSCs. I have written over here. So, it is commonly characterized by the absence of lineage specific marker expression such as CD38, CD117, etc. So, HSC markers refer to several special proteins which distinguish these hematopoietic stem cells from other cell types. So, this is the table which actually commonly differentiate these hematopoietic stem cells from other cell type. And one more feature of these hematopoietic stem cells that they have the higher potential than other immature blood cells, that they can pass the bone marrow barrier, and thus they may travel in the blood from the bone marrow in one bone to other bone. If they settle in the thymus, they may develop into T cells. In the case of fetus and other extramedullary hematopoiesis, hematopoietic stem cells may also settle in the liver and spleen and develop B cells. So, this enables hematopoietic stem cells to be harvested directly from the blood. So, this is the features of these hematopoietic stem cells. Now, the treatment of many diseases is difficult by this stem cell therapy. because of the lack of information about the mechanisms these stem cells play in the disease progression. For this reason, diseases needs to be modeled so that treatment could be developed aiming the main cause of the disease. And there are a large number of disease testing models which have developed during previous eras. Some of them are capable of mimicking human cellular microenvironment and metabolism to some extent. Many animal models such as say rat, mice, dog and primates have been used for this disease modeling. However, the use of animals as disease models is limited due to existing variability in the genetic makeup of them that is highly responsible for the biological functions, and hence differences in they exhibit while compared with human individuals. Secondly, the problem further gets complicated when the individuals are of two different species. Different species have different genetic makeup and hence different proteins, and thus none of the animal model is able to fully mimic the human cell microenvironment. So a different approach which can provide the same environment as in human cells are required, and that is the need why somatic cells were induced to form induced pluripotent stem cells that pose to be a good alternative with some advantages as well. In case of these induced pluripotent stem cells, there is no need of proliferation again and again, and their derivatives are functional in vitro as well as in vivo for transplantation. Now, these induced pluripotent stem cells are widely used in therapeutics for disease modeling, regenerative medicines and drug discovery. So, now we will discuss about the stem cell therapies. So, for this stem cell therapy, we use this induced pluripotent stem cell, and I have told you why we need induced pluripotent stem cells for the stem cell therapies. Well, we will talk about this stem cell therapy in our next class. Today I will tell some about the stem cell. You can check. I will give you a brief about on a particular web server you can use, which is known as stem checker. You can, when you are working with a particular cell, you want to check whether a particular cell having its stemness or not, whether it can be called a stem cell or not. So if you want to check whether it's a stem cell or not, you have to check for its stemness. Now what is, for this you can use a server, web based server, which is known as stem checker. So what is the stem checker? This is a basically web based server that actually enables us to rapidly check whether a given list of genes can be associated with stemness or not. So is my screen is visible, the stem checker one? No, ma'am, the word tissue specific for it is. HSCs are tissue specific. While I'm answering you, first let me show the web server. Okay. Now, is this visible to you? Okay, nice. So this is the web-based server where we can check whether a particular cell is having its sameness or not. So it actually provides a list of genes can be associated with sameness. For this purpose, it has curated numerous published sameness signatures derived by alternative approaches. Okay. Now stem checker, it actually what it does, this stem checker compares the genes uploaded by the user with those in the curated sameness signatures and evaluates the statistical significance of the overlap, and the results are then we get displayed in alternative formats showing the overall association of the whole set of input genes with sameness as well as the occurrence of individual genes in the curated sameness signature. Okay. And additionally, this stem checker verifies whether the input genes are targeted by a set of transcription factors linked to pluripotency and stem cell maintenance. That also they check. So what is this sameness signature? Because I am talking about this sameness signature. So these sameness signatures they are considered to be necessary or at least associated with the defining characteristics of stem cells. Okay. So this is the sameness signature depending on which this stem checker works. So this is the introduction of this particular web-based server. In our next class, I will tell you how to use this stem checker to use or to check what are these selection of stemness signature, what are these sections mean, and also how the results are displayed, how you can interpret the results depending on the characteristics of the stemness. And also we will talk about the stem cell therapy. Okay, how we can use them for treating different diseases during disease modeling, during formation of degenerative drugs, to make personalized medicines and so on. Okay.